So my name is John Eccles. I'm with Keller Williams Realty. I've been in real estate kind of full time for about a year and a half now. Come with a lot of sales background. I've been in sales since high school, basically. So I've got a lot of experience, but I always was interested in real estate and um, wanted to get into it, but just never was told the right information. So when somebody shared the right information and kind of pointed me in the direction, I took it and ran with it, and the rest is history, they say, right?
Right. Awesome. So the specific email I sent out was talking about vacant and absentee uh, listings, and just tell me a little bit about your experience in that market, in that niche.
Yeah, so I have a little bit of experience. I couldn't say I'm an expert at that at this point, but I mean, real estate's always changing, so I don't know if anybody's an expert because things are so fluid in real estate. But vacant land, it's different. And right now, with what's going on with COVID, the way we're able to show those homes are a lot easier. So I find that they're moving a lot quicker because people can get in and get to the bones and of the house or the property and really kind of dive into it quicker. And some of the safety protocols are a little bit different with a vacant home than with somebody living there. So they tend to get more eyes on them and tend to go quicker because they're not having to wait for showings. And we did a showing in another house that had somebody in there and they were gone the whole weekend. It was priced in that sweet spot, and they had 33 people go through their house in 3 days. So, but I mean, they got 14 offers on it, so they weren't complaining either.
Right. Right. Is that something with the vacant homes now? Like, if you were to kind of market to them, is that something that you're bringing up, that, hey, this is a great time to be able to actually get people into this house because of the fact that it is open and we can get, people are looking to get into homes and this is one that they can tour?
Yeah, so that's how I'm going at it. I'm trying to get the listings because they're easier to show, and there's in Maine anyways, there's such a lack of inventory that houses are selling really quickly. Like the example I just gave you, I mean, that's almost common practice right now, which we're all grateful for. But if you got a buyer you're working with, it makes it tough because you're competing and you got to strategize for different offers to get yours to the table. So if you can get the listings on the vacant properties, you're kind of getting a leg up, if you would.
Right. How do you market to? Are these properties that you marketed to, or were they referrals? How did you get these?
So some of them were expireds, so I contacted them through that aspect of it. One was somebody had referred me to it, so I had a warm lead, if you would, so it made it a little bit easier. But those are the ways I've been targeting those. Yeah.
What when you're sending your material, what kind of materials do you send specifically to the homes that are vacant and maybe have the absentee owners?
Yeah, so what I've been doing is just I got a template of an email that I'm putting together once I get their address, and I get their phone numbers, and they're not always answering the phone because certain situations. However, I find that if I can get the right address, I'm often getting some kind of response back. It's a little easier, little maybe less intimidating for them. So it's something that I'm finding they're responding a little bit better to.
So the actual mailings you're getting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. More so than a phone call.
Right. Yeah. I'm talking to her on Tuesday, and there's a woman that is doing postcards, and it's working really well for her. So
yes. Yep.
It's interesting seeing the older, what used to work is kind of cycling back through again.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I love door knocking. However, right now with what's going on, it's not very accepted. So it's changed the way I've had to go out and market.
Yeah. You said the response is you've been pretty good to your mailings. Things like, what are some of the things that people have said to you, or how's that conversation go once you do get them on the phone?
I mean, it varies. Some people are grateful because they didn't know where to turn. Some of them are in a bad situation, so they're just, again, they don't know where to look for the help, unfortunately, and they're typically out of state. is what I'm finding, because they've picked up and left and what have you. So that's mostly the response that I've been getting for the most part.
Right. So you coming along has kind of been this, this, oh, thank you type thing that they've been looking for.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. It sounds like, it seems like they're almost not getting people market to them. And, if that's happening, which, I mean, it's great for you if you're getting your stuff out there.
Yeah, and I think some part of it is they want it just to be out of sight, out of mind, and they walked away for whatever particular reason, and now they're just trying to get their life back together. So I'm just coming from contribution and trying to offer a solution to help them get what they need ultimately.
How much legwork on the front end do you do when you're sending stuff to them? Do you pull numbers for them on the front end, or when you're initially talking to them, how much kind of background on the home do you have?
I try to get as much as I can on the home. I don't know if I always share it per se. I'm trying to be careful, right? Because at the end of the day, that's their baby. They bought that house. That's their child, if you would, right? So they're pretty sensitive about it. So it's kind of I take a different approach to it, and I kind of look at it that way when I go and talk to people. So it's a little bit of a different conversation that I have with them. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds a lot like some of the last round of interviews I did was on inherited homes. And that's another one where a lot of times, there's a lot of emotion in that, and people's memories are worth a whole lot more sometimes than the actual market value of the home. So I think you kind of hit on that as well.
Yep. I agree. Yep.
Yeah. I think that everybody I talked to, I think that could definitely be one of the toughest parts of it, is you have to say, look, the people that are moving in here, they're going to create their own memories. It's not your memories that we're selling right now.
Correct. Yeah. And that's a big part of it, trying to sell them, or not sell them, but talk to them about, hey, your memories were your memories, and they try to think back of what they paid for it, and it's got to be worth more now because they, did whatever. And, but sometimes the property isn't in a similar condition than when they bought it, for say, with a lot of these vacant properties, they're in rough shape. So they're not going to command top dollar without a lot of work being put into them. And they're not in the position to put a lot of work into them. So, you got to kind of coach them around that. And once they get it, though, they seem to get it and understand. But to get them to that point is a little tough, because that's, like I said, that's their child, that's their baby, and they have memories there. They grew up there. So that's, it's, it can be challenging.
Yeah. Do you kind of give them all right, we need to put this amount of money into it to get to this price point, or we sell it as is? Like, how do you give them a couple options there?
Yeah. So part of my questions that I ask them can help answer that before we even get to that point. How much do they owe, those sort of things. Because if I discover that they owe a lot, then I'm not even going to have the conversation about fixing it up, because it's going to scare them and make them want to run even more. So we talk about, how we can recoup some of that possibly at closing to, and how we'll market the house in the condition it's in. And if they're in decent conditions, a lot of the strategies I've been doing is pre-inspections. If the property's, decent enough to do a pre-inspection, it's helping it go quicker and helping them get more money. They don't always have the money for that. So we sometimes get creative with how we do that. But I've got a great inspector, and sometimes he gets paid at closing, and he's fine with that. So some different strategies there for sure.
Yeah, I can see how that would definitely be a plus for some of these owners, especially if you're out of state. When you're looking for these homes, is it mainly by driving to the neighborhood or searching the MLS? How are you finding these places to target?
Good question. Some of what I do in my social media marketing is stuff like that. I was really surprised. I was helping a couple look for a lakefront home, and I took this beautiful picture. It was just a beautiful picture of the lake and the setting, and it was sandy, and I posted that on social media. But we also saw a home, and it was just a train wreck. Like you couldn't even walk in. There was so much stuff piled, and they'd seen homes like that before, and they weren't afraid to go in them. But this one, they didn't even go in, And I'm like, why? And they're like, we couldn't even find a path to go in. And I'm just like, okay. So I took a picture of that because I was like, oh, that's interesting, and I just thought I'd share it with my family and just kind of get a, like, wow, this is how some people, left it. And I was like, let me post that on social media. And Michael, I got more comments in that post on the ugly one than I did on anything else. And I actually picked up a few investors because of it. I got, a couple flippers and whatnot. They're like, hey, we like that. Where is it? And, and one of them was a past client from another sales position I was in before getting into real estate. And they're like, hey, you did such a great job for us. We know you're a hard worker. Let's team up on this one. Or, we're looking for this. Help us out and we'll let you sell the house. So that one actually worked better than the beautiful house. If you can imagine that, it blew my mind because I was like, no way,
Right. That's really cool. If you have the investor, if you have the people that are wanting to flip, those places, if you can get them right, you can flip that around and sell it.
Yeah. Or even some of the people that were commenting on it were interested in buying it because they could get it in their mind at a discount, which it was, right? And then they could put the sweat equity into it because they weren't afraid of sweat equity. And, a lot of people in Maine are pretty hard workers, and they didn't mind that extra hard work to get the end result of being on a beautiful place on the water for their family to enjoy for future generations. So, it was just, I got a giggle out of it because I was like, I was hesitant about posting it and I did. And I was just like blown away, like instantly. It just started blowing up with all these comments on it.
That's awesome. It's always funny how those things you don't even really put a whole lot of thought into, and it turns into this huge thing.
Yeah. I almost didn't take a picture of it that day, and I'm grateful I did because it's turned into a lot of business for me. And it's not about the money. It's about helping people, and I'm helping people. Like right now, I'm helping an old customer that they owned a donut shop. I used to be in food sales, and I sell them all the food, and their donut shop is closed right now for since the 17th of March. They closed the doors and haven't even walked into the place. And they're like, we've been doing this a little bit on the side for the past couple of years, and now we're doing it like full time because we can't go back to the donut shop. And I'm just like, wow, I'm grateful we connected because we got a lot of resources together that we're teaming up and getting some things done.
That's awesome. Sounds like you've built a pretty good kind of customer base with, the right kind of customers for what you're doing.
Yeah, it seems to be. I got a good variety of customers, so and clients. So it's nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm grateful.